Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm here again with Ann to do spoilers with friends. Once I was part of an online community where we decided that if something was out long enough to be on DVD, there couldn't be any spoilers. And this movie definitely would qualify. We're looking obviously at Lifeforce. You can see it over my shoulder there, and it's from the 80s. It looks like it's from the 80s. The science fiction effects are from the 80s, but it's a cool movie. We're going to talk about that. So, Ann, you want to bring up anything to begin with on Lifeforce?
I'm not sure you can spoil Lifeforce because even if you watch it all the way through, you may not be sure exactly what happened. We were talking about, I saw this in the theater when it came out. I think it was 1985, maybe 86. And my date and I were paying attention and really didn't quite understand it like the first time through. Like, what happened?
But yeah, there's a lot of frenetic activity going on.
Yeah,
not necessarily.
It goes in a lot of different directions. There's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm. So in case you haven't seen this movie, we start off the movie on a space shuttle that has going to Halley's Comet and has discovered there is a 170-mile long spaceship that's kind of tucked next to the comet, so you can't see it and all the dust that's flying off the head of the comet there. So they decided to go investigate, which is always a great idea, to investigate alien spacecraft that you just happen across. And
170 miles long.
It's a cool looking ship. It's very organic, very Giger-esque. You think maybe that it's like a leftover from an alien movie or something. And so our intrepid astronauts, who give us a couple of lines on why their ship has artificial gravity. I thought that was kind of interesting. It's like, and we have artificial gravity because blah, 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 blah. And they give you some, BS 1980s version of physics. But it's like, why did they even bother? No one else does. Like, no one ever went to the Enterprise and like, how come you guys have gravity? But these guys actually try to explain them for some reason. But then they go to the alien spaceship, and there's lots of dead things that look like the vampire out of Fright Night, the original Fright Night, not the one that was recently done. I haven't seen that one yet. But this movie has Steve Railsback in it. He's our hero, our American hero, who spends his time in this movie in Britain because he was on the ship. And he's the only person who will survive from this space shuttle, which has, I think, a crew of 10. I counted at least one scene, 10 actors standing around. So it's a pretty big space shuttle because they have a lot of room to move around and store things, because they find alien people on the alien spaceship. They look like humans. As you can kind of see behind me, there's one of them now. And the drawing on the other side, we, I guess, have her again. I don't know, but that's a blonde. Anyway, so their artwork is a little weird there. But in any case, so we find 3 human-looking naked people
in glass coffins in a big beehive-shaped room. Or it's not beehive-shaped. It's like this honeycomb thing.
It kind of looks like the engine room from Event Horizon.
A little bit.
So, of course, we're really thinking, why are there people on the alien spacecraft when the other aliens we've seen look like giant batty things? And, okay. And then we get the explanation later that these really aren't crystal coffins or whatever. They're really like force fields of some kind. So I try to slip a little more physics in there, I guess. But then
those are not people.
They remove the 3 people in their little caskets and bring them back to the space shuttle, and everything goes to heck from there. And so by the time they get back to Earth, there's nobody alive left, because the one living person, Steve Railsback, he took the escape pod, which there's one escape pod for one person on a ship with 10 astronauts on it. I'm like, where are the other 9 astronauts?
I think there were more pods, but they all died before they could get to the pods.
Because I'm like, wait a second, that pod only fits one person. You leave the other 9. It's like whoever gets there first gets to live. Is that, But anyway, that's what I was thinking while I was watching that scene. Anyway, so turns out, though, that the 3 naked people aren't dead. they just sort of look dead, or
They're not even people.
they're not even people, which one would suspect. I mean, it's an alien spacecraft, right? But yeah. So then we get some really, really weird 80s dialogue where as you can see, one of those is a pretty lady here, Mathilde May, French actress. So not quite sure how you accept a part like this, because she's only on the screen for 7 minutes. I learned that in another YouTube video. But she's the one thing you really remember about the movie, because she's butt naked most of the time.
Yep. And she kills just about everyone she comes in contact with spectacularly.
She's a killer alien naked lady.
She's very powerful. Her power attracts the men's. So that's why they were shaped like that. You even get that, like one of the other astronauts floating around with Steve Carell's back is like, oh, I can't handle it, because he's just staring at the naked chick in the coffin.
Right. And then even when she escapes and she attacks a couple of people, one of them she leaves alive for unknown reasons. And then he says that he was overwhelmed because it was the most overwhelming feminine presence I felt in my whole life. You're like, what does it even mean?
She was the most overwhelmingly feminine presence I've ever encountered.
Okay, she's overwhelmingly feminine, and so you were instantly like on the floor helpless, and you're still all sweaty and they say, I have to go lie down, I don't feel well. Okay, you've been attacked by the, eternal feminine or something.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I guess whoever wrote Faust would be happy. So yeah, but the weird thing to me is that naked men are not really as pretty as a naked lady. They pick some odd looking men.
No, they're okay, but they're clearly just minions. They're not the queen bee like her.
Yeah. Of course, we don't even know if they're male or female in their original shapes, do we? We just know those are the shapes.
No, we don't know. We just know that the aliens decided to show up like a gorgeous naked chick because they knew that's what human men would look at.
Yeah, and be overwhelmed by. So yeah, she wanders around naked for most of the movie. Although in this particular scene, she does, as you see, starts off with sort of white shift, and then it disappears later. I don't know where it went, but yeah, it does disappear later. So she's strutting around naked. She, of course, escapes from the very creatively named Space Center. I mean, at least it's Britain. At least it's like, Charles II Memorial Space Center or something, But no, it's just a Space Center. And she's really good at blowing things up. Glass is shattering everywhere. Love those scenes. Like, oh, somebody saw Highlander and wants to like do that, right? So all these scenes remind me of other movies, I guess.
I don't know. I guess the scene where she's just walking down the stairs frying men and walks very calmly, completely naked. She just kind of moves her hand, shatters all the windows, and then walks out onto the grass through the broken glass and just keeps going. I love that. Yeah, that is a very memorable movie scene.
She's clearly someone that has a lot of power, has to be contended with, right? We
yes.
know our problem in this movie is how to deal with space alien chick. It quickly becomes evident that once she sucks your life force, you will be dead for 2 hours.
Right.
At which point you will wake up and have to consume someone else's life force, or turn into a little dust mummy that explodes.
In a really cool way.
Yeah. So there are dead people exploding into dust.
Yes.
At the space.
And that effect, like the first time there's one on the table and it's an animated dead person that then explodes, that was, for the time, a very spectacular effect. And the audience was like, ugh.
It's no chest burster, but it's right up there.
It's a dusty chest burster.
Chest exploder. So yeah, and this is one of those things where you're like, who was dressing these sets? Because when they put the first guy in this cell, I think you call him a containment cell, he's in basically a storage unit like you get from when you have an apartment. And inside this storage unit are a bunch of 55-gallon drums.
Yeah.
Who knows what the heck's in there? Let's just throw this guy in here with him. It's like, to me, containment cell sounds like you'll be the only thing in it.
You would think, but I don't think they were expecting them to be soul-sucking, exploding aliens that would cause a huge epidemic of soul-sucking.
No, but it's like, let's find somewhere to lock him up, would have been a line that I would have probably never thought about. Once let's put him in a containment cell, and you're like, that's a containment, that's like a closet or just a storage area. But, you know, I mean, this dialogue here is not prize-worthy, but it is fun, usually cheesy.
Yeah, the dialogue is terrible. I will give you that. I love this movie, but it certainly is not for the dialogue. It's just because it's fun.
Yeah, it's also, I mean, it is very cheesy. The British actors do a great job until they have reaction shots. The reaction shots to me are just like completely like, what are they even thinking? I mean, even if they just sort of like stoically looked at it, would be better than the way they react most of the time. And it's like, it's not chewing the scenery, and it's just like, I don't know. It's not, doesn't do it for me. But when they're speaking, when they're doing something, then, you know, they actually do a good job. But, you know, maybe it was just, hey, this is, I need something to do for the summer. My agent,
I mean, you get to see Patrick Stewart act in a very strange way.
Yeah. But of course, our main guy, Steve Railsback, and yes. His dialogue was the worst of all. And there's a scene of him beating up this woman that hasn't aged real well. Because
it was kind of weird at the time, but then if you think about it, it's not as terrible as 50 Shades of Grey.
I want to see that. Yeah, but he turns to the other character in the scene, the other guy, and is like, she's a masochist. She wants me to do this. And you're like, who?
Well, the other guy's looking at him like he doesn't believe him either. He's like, what are you doing? That's just tacky.
And I'm not even sure he gets what he wants out of her, because he's trying to get information because she's been possessed by this female vampire here.
He does.
She can possess people while she hides her body somewhere safe.
Right. He gets the information he's looking for because he reads in her mind who the next person is. That she
they have this sort of telepathic communication.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So just anything you can think of that it's almost like The Gate. I don't know if you've seen The Gate, but that was a similar age movies in the mid 80s. Everything happens in The Gate. If there's a satanic record, you have to play backwards, and there's electronic appliances that like work when they're not plugged in, and there's a dog that comes back to life, and there's a hole in the backyard that goes to hell, and there's like, I mean, there's flying insects doing creepy things. It doesn't, anything you can think of from any horror movie, they shoved it into The Gate, and sometimes I feel like they tried to do that in this movie too. You got the damn person, and then the zombies, because
there's zombies climbing all over St. Paul's.
Because they have to try to find someone else's life force, or they will, you know, yeah.
And there's army guys trying to contain the zombies, because there always are, you know, bad army guys that are mean to Steve Railsback, and I think then they're not. But yeah, there's a lot going on, and they're sending the souls up to the life forces up to this giant alien spaceship that looks like a burnout match with a feather on the end of it, kind of. That's burnt.
I love it. I think it's cool. It's a cool design. Just like Event Horizon, some cool design in it. I mean, there's some movies you're like, yes.
Event Horizon did not have a giant butthole, though.
Well, I guess, yeah.
This spaceship does. And it is impressive. And it was hilarious even in 1985. And then to watch it now, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. It is indeed organic. A very specific area of an organic body. And I think it's supposed to be, you're supposed to get that feeling.
Okay.
You're passing through the alimentary canal of something into something else.
Well, they do eat you, sort of. You consider consuming the life force. But clearly they're like charging their ship with all these life forces.
Yeah.
The ship's got little lights on it. It's kind of like coming to life as she focuses all these life forces up. So I guess it's great that we have a life force that's compatible with their ship design, and they don't have to like pull out the manual and be like, okay, humans, that's page 572. okay, here's how we, get humans to charge the ship up. They seem to just be able to do it. So,
I guess as long as you can suck it out of them, it works.
So, London is kind of a mess. There's lots of zombies roaming around. So now it's vampires and zombies. And then
the vampires make the zombies.
Yeah, who then have to keep making more zombies or explode.
Right.
So, classic cheesiness of 80s movies. Definitely. And then we get toward the end, I think it's probably the scene everyone remembers, right? If you've seen this movie, because now Steve Railsback is also naked.
Yes.
And he and she are kissing, and he gets the magical sword.
There's a magic sword in it too.
That Peter Firth has managed to run across a London full of zombies. I guess he is a secret agent, so I guess they have a lot of track and field events, because how far is it to run from wherever they were to get to St. Paul's? And they're zombies. So
zombies are easy to outrun and kill, though.
These aren't real fast. They're not slow.
There's a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. You think eventually you turn a corner and there'd be a bunch of them and you'd be out of luck. But no, he finally gets to St. Paul's. He has not been molested by zombies. He does get talked at by the male vampire. I don't remember what the male vampire says. It's not very memorable, obviously. He is able to kill the male vampire, and then to go into the cathedral and get the magic sword to Steve Railsback, who then kills both the naked lady and himself with the sword.
Because he's got some kind of soul connection. She says he's one of them. So I'm not sure if he was actually not a real person. He was actually an alien.
It's hard to say. Maybe one of his ancestors was possessed, because one of the conceits of this is that they've been here before and that they are the things that start vampire legends, that they're the actual the thing that gets those kind of stories rolling. So maybe at some point, maybe an ancestor of his was possessed and had an equally telepathic communion with one of them, and now they come back and they realize he's got this genetic marker or something. I don't know. It doesn't make much sense. You're one of us. As far as we know, he's not a space vampire.
He's got some kind of psychic connection to her. It's vague. I'll admit that.
Yeah, because she tells him that. Well, he asks, why am I so attracted to you, basically? And she's like, well, because I looked into your mind, I found what your perfect woman would be. So now you know what this character's perfect woman is. But all the other men are equally gaga over her as she walks by naked. So
she's hot. It's hard to deny. She looks good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then they both die, and their life forces go up to the ship, and it heads off. Leaving London full of zombies. I assume they would just fall down and explode in dust at that point, because the vampires have left. Well, the male vampires end up dead.
Right.
So there's just her now, and him, I guess, Steve Railsback, so they can repopulate the ship with
off to ravage other planets.
I guess. It's not clear to me how they really operate, because if there's only 3 of them and now there's only 1 of them, maybe they can just think offspring, or maybe they're immortal.
Mystery.
Well, not immortal, because they got 2 of them dying.
Yeah,
very long lived.
One of them dies in the beginning when he's in one of the holding cells. They kill one of them. I think.
Well, they shoot him. He goes back to life. But they take over the 2 guards that shot them, and then it's the scientist who wants to know about life after death, who has a sword. And is able to kill the 1 male vampire, then tells Steve Railsback over the phone, hey, this is how I killed him. But then he turns into a zombie, and so then Peter Firth has to run to his apartment to get the sword, so that he can now then run to London to get to St. Paul's to hand the sword off to Steve Railsback. So there's a lot of running on Peter Firth's part. So I'm really glad that he apparently is like the gold medal winner of the SAS Olympics.
There's a good creepy scene in a mental hospital with Patrick Stewart too, and there's one in a helicopter with Patrick Stewart. That's also cool.
Yeah, and again, people just let Steve Railsback do whatever because he's shoving sodium pentothal into Patrick Stewart, and the orderly or the doctor from the asylum that's there is like, that's kind of like a lot of drugs. And Steve Railsback like, I don't want to do it, and he's just shooting the dude out with more and more sodium pentothal. And you're like, you're an astronaut, like you're an Air Force major or a colonel, and so what do you know about sodium pentothol?
Nothing, but they got people from the government with them.
So it seems like it's okay. The Home Secretary is with
Yes. The Home Secretary. That's right. They can do whatever they want. They got the Home Secretary there.
Now, Patrick Stewart does call him commander at some point. I'm like, no, it's colonel. So I don't know if that was a slip or not, or if they put that in the script just because the guy didn't understand he was a colonel or something. But he's not in the Navy. He's not a commander. Sorry.
Details.
What the movie is off the rails. It's crazy. I mean, and literally the 7 minutes with Matilda May in it are the most memorable because she's pretty intense.
She is.
And
She's
naked.
good.
And she looks good. And everyone is like, besides her, the film's pretty much a sausage fest, except that Steve Railsback does beat up that other woman. But there are very, very few women and almost no other speaking lines go to females. So it's mostly men running around going gaga at the naked Matilda May.
And she can kill every last one of them. So I think it's a feminist icon movie because the most powerful creature in the movie is a woman. They are terrified of her sexuality, completely terrified.
Yeah, I mean, literally on the floor, shaking, sweating. Oh my God, she's so feminine.
Yep.
Like, wow, get a therapist, dude. He has some issues. So how many creepy doll heads would you give Lifeforce?
I'd give it a 4. It's not a 5, but I do love it. I've probably seen it 15 times. It's just
currently
so
where did we
weird.
watch it off of? Did we watch it off of YouTube? Can't remember. But you can find it online various places.
Yeah, it's on. They have it on Prime, and Vudu has it. I have a DVD of it, of course.
All right. So 4 creepy doll heads for Lifeforce. Once again, we appreciate you joining us for Spoilers with Friends. If you like this channel, please hit the like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.